This, my friends, is my prized possession, my 1971 Honda CB350, which I picked up about, I want to say 2 years ago. And I've ridden it a bit, not like a daily, because you know it's snowing like crazy out and it's cold as heck where I live. But I figured now's a great time to finally catch up on some of the stuff I've been meaning to do to it. When I picked it up, the original owner informed me that it had a paint job done, and it seems like it was a semi-professional paint job. It looks pretty good. I like the colors. There's only one run in the clear coat that I've been meaning to take care of, and I think today is that day. So let me go ahead and bring you in a little closer, because you almost certainly can't see it from the tripod. So there's the run. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to clean this down. It's, you know, got all kinds of dust on it from sitting in the garage or sitting in the shed. So we'll clean it down. Then I'm going to probably wet sand it, starting at something a little more aggressive, like a 320 to 600. And I'm not going to start off by block sanding. I'm probably just going to fingertip on the actual runs themselves to knock them down a little bit. I don't know about here where the run starts, but these two runs right here will fingertip out, and then probably move up to a higher grit and start actually block sanding it, or get a foam block, since there's a bit of a curve up here. And after that, I've got a random orbit buffer from Harbor Freight that should be able to just run over this whole thing. I might do the whole tank, buff the tank out, get a little more shine into it, and then it should be miraculous. We'll see when it's done. I'll be back. It was about 5 minutes later, and I went ahead and fingertip sanded with 320 grit and some water on those hard ridges in the run that was there. See if we can get you in there a little closer. See what's going on. So you can see the spots where I've sanded, it's significantly more dull. I went ahead and I really knocked down that ridge that was there, especially on the end of the run, the two runs that were here. And I knocked down the ridge that was right here just a little bit. Hoping I haven't gone past the clear coat, which would be bad, but we'll go ahead and see once I've block sanded a little more. We'll run a block sand this way over it at probably 600 grit, and then we'll move to a 2000 grit and try to buff it up. Let me get you in a little closer and see if you can see the ridges. Still zoomed in. Can't really see the ridges anymore because it's so much more dull now. Here's the front end of the run. The back end here was pretty bad, and then this was the bad run down here where there was a real big bump right there. That's been knocked down significantly. So hopefully with block sand it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be significantly less visible, I think, as an imperfection. Okay, so here we are after just a little bit of sort of block sanding with 600 grit in this direction. What I'm starting to notice, or things that you should pick up on while you're doing this, is, so here's a sanded area. This is an area where the sandpaper is making contact. The run it's making contact on in front of it's making contact on, but around the edges it's not, around the edges of the run. So what that's telling me is these are still low spots, low spot, low spot, same kind of up here. So I think I'm going to continue to fingertip this down a little bit and see if I can't bring the run down even further until we can get a nice smooth consistent sanding pattern over the run. That would probably lead us to better results once we start to buffer. There you can see a little better. Kind of sucks, so you got to make it look worse to make it look better. So when you get into this, it's like, oh man, I'm fucking it up. But I think I should be able to turn this around pretty well, and if not, well, another project to re-spray paint this. I've been meaning to buy some professional spray painting gear anyways, so there's other spots on this tank that are messed up too. The whole inside needs to be derusted and sealed. There is some rust in there. Missing a chip of the skirt there. There's some chips up around here as well, but this is the biggest defect in the tank, I think. So hopefully we'll be able to fix that. Alright, still looks like crap, but let's see if I can show you. After doing some more fingertip sanding to bring the high spots down, and then the 600 grit block this way, you can sort of see that the pattern, the scratch pattern, there's only still very small low spots. Well, these aren't really low spots per se, they're more like spots where they don't get sanded because this spot's high. So when you're going over this with a flat piece of sandpaper, it doesn't touch those. I'm actually pretty comfortable with that. I don't, you're gonna see that when it's done, but I don't want to go any further sanding it because I'm not sure if I've gone through the clear coat yet. It seems like it's a pretty thick application of clear coat, and probably why they got the run in the first place. But I think that's gonna look a lot better than what it did. You can really tell in person that it's much lower. There's not a huge ridge right here, still a bit of a lip, but you shouldn't be able to see it too much. And this was the bad spot where it was just really high. So go ahead and do, I think, we'll do 1,000 grit if I have it up, and then 2,000 side to side, rubbing compound with the random orbit buffer, and then polishing compound with the random orbit buffer. So hopefully that'll make it look sparkling brand new after we're done. Okay, we're gonna begin with the P1000 wet sand, and I'm gonna go up and down for this one. So the idea with going up and grit sandpaper while we're doing this and going a different direction is just kind of knock down the larger scratches from the lower grit sandpaper. So you don't have to go much, just over the area that any of the other sandpaper contacted. So even out to here, it seems like I got some scratches from the other sandpapers. Just keeping it nice and lubricated with the water. Give you a better finish in the end. Let's wipe it down. Always nice to see what it looks like when it's dry. Right after you wipe it, you still have little bits of water in there, filling some of the scratches. Give you kind of an idea of what it'll look like when it's polished. Still need to get some of this right here. We got a big old scratch. Just looking for large scratches. There's a large scratch. Here's some large scratches. Not too bad down here. So I'm going to take this area out, take this area out. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you don't press too hard. It's always better to go slow, gentle passes. Take your time, because it'd be pretty easy to go too fast, and then you've gone through the clear coat, and then, then you're pretty much fucked. And you'd have to do some kind of touch up, and it probably won't look the same anyways when you're done. So I think I got those big scratches knocked down with the 1000. Really have to use reflection, and I guess it helps. Some of the painters where I work use LED lights as inspection lights. You can really see the scratches when you do that. Any imperfections. I'm going to go ahead and knock this spot down while we're on the 1000, and then we'll take the P2000 across this way, and then it's time to buffer. It's going to be kind of a harder spot to get at. Yeah. Use the edge of the block. See how that looks. Much better. Bring you in for a close-up on that. Actually pretty happy with this so far. I've been putting this off for a long time because I'm always worried I'm gonna fuck it up even more, and I guess I still could, but it's looking much more smooth. Come on, focus now. Always hard to show paint quality on a camera. So there's not really any more large scratches. What you're seeing is just dullness from the P1000. Let's see. You can still see that run right there. But I think once it's polished up, it's going to look better. So let's go ahead and do the 2000 left and right. So what I'm doing is just wrapping this around. This is a wax foam block you use for applying wax or whatever to your car. But it seems to serve the purpose pretty well. I'd rather not go over to AutoZone and buy the special thing that like attaches the sandpaper to the block. There's about 8 inches of snow on the ground right now. Just go over very lightly. I'm barely even pressing at all right now. Again, what we're doing is we're just, now that we've gone to the 2000, we're just knocking down the scratches from the 1000. And you know you've got it lubricated or wet enough when this just glides right over the paint. That's how it should be. That looks much better. Almost to a polished finish. Getting there. P2000 is pretty high, but you really can't beat the quality that comes out of a random orbit buffer with polishing compound. So, come on now. Let's get the light on that. Sorry about that. Camera ran out of memory. I got a 4-gig card, need to get a bigger one. I was trying to show you the quality of this now that we've finished the P2000 left to right. You can definitely still see the run in there. but it's not nearly as raised anymore. And there's still some unsanded spots. But I'm gonna go ahead and run that over with the random orbit buffer with some polishing compound first, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, here's what we've got. Random orbit buffer, Harbor Freight, 20 bucks. Pretty good for just small jobs like this. Turtle wax rubbing compound. We'll use that first with the terry towel thing that goes on top of this. It also comes with a microfiber one that we'll use with the turtle wax polishing compound. And just to let everybody know, these covers are not the ones that I bought with this bike. The ones that I bought with this bike actually had matching pearl color that went down them. Unfortunately, they flew off when I was on the highway and just broke into a million pieces. So I bought new ones, painted them with paint match of the green, and used a acrylic clear coat on these, and used this to polish them up, and got pretty good quality out of that. They look fairly good. Some spots I went too far with the rubbing compound, like right there, but I think they look like good replacements. I think this will work well here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply a little bit of this. It's going to fly everywhere when I turn this thing on. Just kind of rub it in a little bit. Go ahead and start her up. Very lightly bring it over all the spots that we need to rub. Don't have to do it for long. Go ahead and wash that off and see how it looks. Still need to hit this area a little bit, let that dry so we can see the scratches. Like I said earlier, when it's still a little wet, you're going to get water inside those little scratches, and you're not going to be able to see where it still needs to be polished or buffed. So I'm thinking right here, up around here, definitely right here, and I'll try to come down here with it a little more. Yeah. I don't think I have to add too much more rubbing compound. Add a little right there, a little right there, and try to get some down there. And I'm just going to use the edge of it to get some of these smaller areas instead of going over the whole thing with a light press like I just did. So that should get these areas. Very gently. Keep it moving while you do this. Otherwise you're going to burn in one spot. Still need a little bit over here. It's always better to just take your time. Make a couple passes instead of one big one. I think I'm going to run it over this spot again as well. I won't add any more rubbing compound this time though. Should be enough on the pad. Hit this spot a little bit. There's a little bit of, it's almost like an orange peel. I think that just might be like dimples in the original paint, where I might have run over with the block sand, would have dulled up the paint on the high spots potentially, if there were any dimples. I can still see a little bit up here. I'll add a little bit of rubbing compound on that one again. Just a dab. Dab will do you. This spot. Still some dimpling right there, and you can definitely still see the run. Unfortunately, this run got a couple little bubbles in it when the run occurred, so you can't really take care of that unless you go all the way down with it. I think those are pretty deep in the run, but you definitely can't see it nearly as much anymore. Alright, so now I think I'm going to go ahead and clean the tank off again, because it's just so damn dirty in my garage that it got dirty again. And then I'm going to run that rubbing compound over the entirety of the tank, and then we'll polish this one spot and polish the rest of the tank. And hopefully it'll look sparkling new. So I had to take the seat off to get in around this area in the back. So this is what the tank looks like after running over it with the rubbing compound on the random orbit buffer. Looking pretty good. Just can't seem to get the dust out of there, which is going to suck because it's going to put little tiny micro scratches in with the buffer and when we go to polish. But the area with the run looks a lot better so far. Still a little dull, so hopefully that gets fixed when we go over it with the polishing compound. Here's the other side. Looking pretty good. Pretty shiny, but we can get her shinier than that. Okay, switched it out to the microfiber towel, and we're going to switch to the polishing compound and start off with this area that we've done the wet sanding on. Same as the rubbing compound, just kind of liberally smeared on there and give it a run over. Hopefully this will get it nice and shiny. You don't have to be nearly as careful when you're on the microfiber with the polishing compound, because it's really not going to eat through your clear coat or anything like that real fast. You'd have to be pressing pretty hard. Dog's barking. Go take care of that real quick and we'll take a look at that. So that looks a lot better, if you can see it with the focus. Significantly less dull. Still some bigger scratches up here that we must have missed with like the P1000 or something, but as like a it's like a 3-foot fix, that is way better. You cannot see that run nearly as much as you could originally. As a matter of fact, when I picked this bike up, I had it in the back of my buddy's truck. We stopped at a gas station right next to a car show, and one of the guys got out and was asking me about the bike, and he was probably 10 feet away and said, "Oh, you got some gasoline on your tank there?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's a run in the clear coat." So you could see it from good 10 feet, you know, like the distance to gas pumps are from each other. So that's way better. way better than it was. I'm probably going to run over it one more time with the polishing compound and then do the rest of the tank, and I'll give you a final view of what it looks like. So here's the final product. Got my halogen light plugged in, a little more light on it so you can kind of see the reflectivity of it. Still see that run in the light, like on the side, but it's a lot less than it was. Went over the whole tank with the polishing compound. You gotta be careful on those edges right there. I did go through a little bit, almost through the base coat. So yeah, you can, with polishing compound and a random orbit buffer, go through the paint on like hard edges, because hard edges have significantly less paint than the rest of the tank. So be careful of that. I did the same thing on these when I did them. That's kind of dirty. That's actually really dirty. I need to give this a proper bath. Fix the carbs. Runs good. Doesn't like to cold start though. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wax her up this weekend. Make sure she's ready for spring. Maybe I'll do more videos in the future of just working on this thing. There's a couple things that can be done to it. These are not the original mufflers. I want to add a baffle into these because it's just too loud for my taste. A little bike like this doesn't need to sound like a Harley. It just really needs to be cleaned up in some areas. So camera's starting to die now, so I'll let you go. Thanks for watching.